Now in today's video, we're going to go over how popular ETFs like QQQI and SPYI, two high income ETFs that I personally hold in my long-term portfolio and earn a ton every single month as far as distributions go. We're going to go over how both these ETFs are taxed and everything you need to know about what this means, and hopefully apply some of it even to your own situation. Now, especially when it comes to taxes for your own specific situation, always consult with an expert. I am not an expert by any means, but I just want to share with you guys some of the facts, some of the guidelines you definitely should know if and when investing into high income ETFs like these two and others. So if this sort of thing interests you at all, make sure to stick around, drop a like down below, and let's get right into it. My A to Z dividend investing ebook has helped countless dividend investors get started with their journey. And my custom dividend tracker that I'm constantly using here on the channel has also helped so many investors stay on track and allow them to see their dividend income in real time. Well, today I have another treat for you guys. I'm not only going to offer you my A to Z dividend investing ebook and the custom dividend tracker, but also just for a short limited time, I'm going to be adding in my brand new weekly dividend blueprint ebook to show you how you can get started with weekly dividend ETFs and add this into your investing strategy. This offer is not going to last long, so go ahead and click the first link down below in my description, and you're going to get both ebooks and the custom dividend tracker bundle. But like I said, please act fast because this won't be around for long. Now let's get back into the video. So before we go through exactly how these two ETFs, SPYI and the NEOS Nasdaq 100 High Income ETF, are supposedly going to be taxed, why does this even matter in the first place? Well, especially for high income oriented ETFs like these two that offer a 14.42% distribution rate or SPYI's 12.19% distribution rate, these two ETFs specifically are generating a lot of income every single month, or at least have historically, which can definitely mean something potentially for your portfolio and of course for your tax situation. Now again, everyone's going to be in their own situation and different things are going to matter, like how much income you earn per year from your day job, if you're investing in a taxable or non-taxable brokerage account, etc. But just going over some of the basics, what are the two types of ways dividends are taxed? Again, just generally speaking, it says qualified dividends versus ordinary dividends. Qualified and ordinary dividends have different tax implications that impact return. The tax rate is 0% on qualified dividends if taxable income is less than $48,350 for singles or $96,700 for joint married filers. This is in 2025 tax year. Filers who make more than $48,351 individually or $96,701 jointly, 15% tax rate on qualified dividends. For those with income that exceeds $533,401 for a single person or $600,051 for a married person, the capital gains tax rate is 20%. So again, just very generally speaking here, whenever you're investing into anything, especially whether it's a stock or an ETF, in the example for this video, you need to understand exactly how the ETF or the stock or anything else is at least supposedly going to be taxed, and then ask yourself, does this match what you're looking for your own specific situation? Now, one of the cool things about the NEOS ETF specifically, and lots of other funds also provide very similar things, is that if you just go on their website, you can scroll down and find this tab right here. It says supplemental tax information, 19A-1 notices, which a 19A-1 refers to SEC Rule 19A-1, which is part of the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission regulations under the Investment Company Act of 1940. Here's what it means in plain English though. When a mutual fund, ETF, or closed-end fund pays a distribution like dividends, investors often assume it comes from net investment income, interest, dividends from stocks, etc. But sometimes distributions come from other sources like realized capital gains, or even in this case, a lot of return of capital, or ROC, a lot of people call it, giving investors back their own money. Rule 19A-1 requires that whenever a fund pays a distribution, not entirely from net investment income, it must send investors a 19A-1 notice. And in this notice, you're going to see a breakdown, which I'll share with you guys here in a second, for QQQI and SPYI. You're going to see percentage of the money from net investment income, from net realized capital gains, and of course, from percentage of return of capital. So again, what's really cool and kind of handy when it comes to the NEOS ETFs, you can go to any of their ETFs main website page and find it right here, supplemental tax information. And then you can go down here and see all the different distributions and see how they're going to be estimated, taxed, etc. So just for a quick example, this is for SPYI. It says right here, pursuant to Rule 19A-1 under the Investment Company Act of 1940, in connection with the monthly dividend payment of 51.76 cents per share, payable on August 22nd this year to shareholders of record on August 20th of this year, it is anticipated that 98% of such dividend will be return of capital. Now, the amount and sources of distributions reported in this notice are estimates on a book basis, are not being provided for tax reporting purposes, and may be later determined from a taxable net investment income, short-term gains, long-term gains, to the extent permitted per law. And the return of capital The actual amounts and sources for tax reporting purposes will depend upon the fund's investment experience during the remainder of the fiscal year and may be subject to changes based on tax regulations. The fund will send you a Form 1099 for the calendar year that will tell you how to report these distributions for federal income tax purposes. As a result, shareholders should not use this information provided in this notice for tax reporting purposes. Now, this portion is very, very important, and take this from someone that has actually seen this happen over and over again. I personally have invested into different ETFs, not this one specifically that I can remember, but different ETFs that do offer high income generation. And inside the 19A-1, it might show something completely different that later on, several months later, when I do receive the Form 1099 div, it looks completely different. Now, that being said, I will say in my experience, a lot of times it's pretty accurate, but again, take this with a grain of salt. This is again going to be estimated, and everything says estimated very, very clearly. But again, just for the example of SPYI, it's showing right here that the estimated net investment income is around 1 cent or 2% of the distribution, and the rest of it is going to be estimated return of capital. Now, your next question maybe is, what is return of capital? And I got you. Return of capital is a payment that investors receive as a portion of their original investment that is not considered income or capital gains from the investment. Note that return of capital reduces investors' adjusted cost basis. Once a stock or ETF adjusted cost basis has been reduced to zero, any subsequent return will be taxable as capital gains. So with return of capital, when funds like SPYI or QQQI, for example, do pay out distributions and at least an estimated amount is largely going to be return of capital, that income that is paid to you inside your brokerage account is not going to be a taxable event. It's basically going to be the ETF, the fund providers, giving you back a portion of your original investment, which is going to lower your cost basis slowly over time to the point that even potentially later on down the road, you could be at a zero cost basis, getting paid back all of your original investment, which at that point you are now going to be taxed completely differently. So your next question might be, well, why do I even want return of capital in the first place? Is return of capital necessarily better or worse than different sorts of income tax treatment? And it really just depends on your own situation. Some investors like myself are seeking to have at least a portion of their portfolio's income to be paid out in the form of return of capital. Just because as of right now, I'd rather have this monthly income lower my cost basis, sort of kick the can down the road, then later on deal with the tax treatment at a different time. But to be honest, I don't necessarily think that return of capital is or isn't good or isn't bad. It really is just a different type of tax treatment for income generation, and it really just depends on what you're looking for your own specific situation. Like for example, if you were to be buying shares of high income ETFs for a tax sheltered brokerage account, well, in that case, you probably aren't necessarily going to be trying to kick the can on the road for a taxable event. In that case, you wouldn't really care. But for me personally, having a portion of my portfolio, like I said, paying me in the form of return of capital definitely helps out my overall strategy. Again, just for me personally. Now that we talked about how names like SPYI or even QQQI are going to have their high income taxed at least estimated, I lastly, most importantly, have a question for you guys down below. When it comes to the tax treatments of some of these high income ETFs, are you personally seeking ROC? Are you not? Let's discuss it down below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to please drop a like on it and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks as always for stopping by, and if you are interested in investing, make sure to check out these recent videos I posted right here.